How are you going to sell me a tank top that is $245 that is 100% polyester?
My biggest fashion pet peeve is mid-tier clothing brands that are selling us cheap quality clothes at such an expensive price.
The modern fashion industry is a beautifully orchestrated heist. You walk into a brightly lit mall, surrounded by glass storefronts and airbrushed models, convinced that a $300 price tag equals quality. It is a total illusion. They want you trapped in a cycle of planned obsolescence, buying synthetic rags that melt in the wash just so you can return next month for the latest trend. But the secret is out. Here are 5 cheap women's clothing brands everyone ignores, but they are absolute gold mines for your wardrobe. Let's get into it. Number 5. Mango Outlet. Most shoppers are intimately familiar with Mango. It is the slightly more sophisticated European cousin to Zara. You walk into their flagship retail stores, and the entire environment is highly engineered to trigger a deep sense of purchasing panic. The lighting is perfectly bright, the music is carefully curated to keep your heart rate up, and the clothing racks are deliberately sparse. This creates an absolute manufactured illusion of scarcity. They want you terrified that if you do not buy that specific blouse right now, another shopper will take it and it will be gone forever. You are paying a massive premium for the physical experience of being in the store. But what the corporate boardrooms in Barcelona desperately do not want you to know is that they have a secret digital backdoor. While the main Mango website is busy charging you $80 for a paper-thin, unlined polyester blend blouse, their secret sister site, known as Mango Outlet, is quietly offloading last season's premium leather, heavy wool, and pure silk for up to 80% off. To understand why this digital warehouse is an absolute, undeniable goldmine, you have to understand the ruthless math of retail psychology. The modern fashion cycle has become violently fast and completely unsustainable. Decades ago, clothing stores had exactly 4 seasons. You bought a winter coat in the winter. Today, the massive fast fashion conglomerates have engineered 52 micro-seasons a year. They have to constantly churn out new, shiny inventory every single week just to keep you addicted to swiping your credit card, because this corporate calendar moves at lightning speed. Perfectly constructed, timeless pieces are instantly ripped off the showroom floor to make room for the new garbage. A classic camel wool trench coat, a heavy structured blazer, or a genuine leather boot does not suddenly become useless simply because the calendar flipped from October to November, but the corporate inventory algorithm immediately flags it as old stock. It is banished to the outlet section simply because it survived on the rack for more than 14 days. The retail industry has spent billions of dollars conditioning you to believe that an outlet is where quality goes to die. They want you picturing a sad, disorganized strip mall filled with irregular factory regex, crooked seams, damaged zippers, and cheap synthetic clothing lines, specifically manufactured just for the outlet store. That is the scam most major brands run, but Mango Outlet operates differently. This is not a physical dumping ground for damaged goods. This is the digital graveyard of high-end European design. You are not buying a cheap imitation made for a discount rack. You are buying the exact same premium garments that hung in their expensive, brightly lit storefronts just 3 months ago. In reality, Mango Outlet is exactly where the corporate markups go to die. If you look closely at the physical construction of a Mango Outlet coat, the quality completely destroys the modern retail pricing model. You will often find high percentages of real, heavy wool and structured tailoring that perfectly matches luxury brands charging 4 times as much money. When you run your hand across the fabric, you immediately feel the density. You find fully lined interiors using breathable viscose instead of suffocating plastic polyester. You find heavy brass zippers instead of cheap plastic ones that derail after 3 uses. And you find reinforced stitching that actually holds the garment together. One reviewer wrote, "I bought a structured wool coat for $45 that looks identical to a designer piece I saw for $600. The weight of the fabric is incredibly heavy. The stitching is heavily reinforced, and it hasn't pilled at all after 2 full years of brutal winter wear. I get compliments on it constantly, and I feel like I completely robbed the store." They actively try to hide this from you. If you go to the main website, They bury the outlet link deep in the footer at the very bottom of the page, written in tiny, light gray text. They do not advertise it on their front page. They are desperately hoping you stay on the high-margin pages. They want you paying top dollar for the psychological thrill of the new arrival label, happily handing over your paycheck for the privilege of wearing the latest trend. But the smart money ignores the label entirely and heads straight into the hidden digital warehouse. Finding designer-level tailoring for the price of a fast food meal is a massive victory for your bank account, but the next brand on our list has a completely different strategy. They didn't just find a backdoor to the outlet, they rebuilt the entire supply chain from the ground up to kill the middleman entirely. Number 4. Quince. If you have spent any time scrolling through social media, you have likely seen an ad for a $50 cashmere sweater or a $60 silk slip dress. Your immediate instinct was probably to keep scrolling, assuming it was another low-quality scam designed to fall apart in the mail. That is exactly what the luxury cashmere and silk industries want you to think. Quince is the ultimate direct-to-consumer disruptor that the high-end department stores are absolutely terrified of. The traditional retail model is a massive, inefficient chain of waste. A factory makes a silk shirt for $15. They sell it to a brand for $30. The brand sells it to a department store for $60. The department store puts it on a shelf for $180. You are paying for the rent, the lighting, the marketing, and the corporate bonuses. Quince deleted the entire middle of that sentence. They work directly with the exact same factories that produce clothing for brands like Vince, Eileen Fisher, and Jenny Kane. They ship the product directly from the factory floor to your front door. One former fashion buyer admitted, "The silk Quince uses is the exact same grade and weight as the luxury brands I used to source for. When you strip away the gold leaf logo and the boutique packaging, the physical product is indistinguishable from a $200 garment." The corporate giants want you to believe that affordable luxury is an oxymoron. They have spent billions of dollars on marketing to convince you that cashmere must be expensive to be real. Quince proves that the high price is just a choice made by a CEO, not a requirement of the material. Quince is a goldmine because they prioritize the noble fibers. They focus on silk, cashmere, linen, and organic cotton. While other cheap brands are selling you plastic-based acrylic and polyester, Quince is selling you the biological materials that actually last. One reviewer wrote, "I have washed my Quince silk shirt 10 times. It hasn't lost its sheen, the seams are still straight, and it feels like a second skin. I stopped buying luxury silk the day I realized I was just paying for a fancy shopping bag." They killed the middleman to save you hundreds of dollars. But our next brand didn't just fix the pricing, they revolutionized the engineering of the fabric itself. If you are starting to realize that the modern fashion mall is just an expensive theater designed to drain your savings, hit the subscribe button right now. We expose the hidden corporate markups and the retail lies that keep you broke. Let's get back into the closet, because this next brand is run by a man who hates fashion trends so much that he decided to build a tech company that just happens to sell shirts. Number 3. Uniqlo. If you ask the average American about Uniqlo, they might describe it as the Japanese Gap. This is a catastrophic misunderstanding of what is actually happening inside their stores. Uniqlo is not a fashion brand. It is an engineering firm that uses textiles as its medium. The founder, Tadashi Yanai, built Uniqlo on a philosophy called lifewear. While Zara is busy copying the latest runway show from Paris in a matter of 14 days, Uniqlo is spending years developing a specific type of heat-retaining fabric or a new way to weave ultra-light down. Uniqlo is a goldmine because they have achieved the impossible: high-tech performance at a bargain basement price. Look at their heat tech line. They partnered with Toray Industries, a massive chemical and textile engineering firm, to create a fabric that literally converts body moisture into heat. The fashion industry wants you to buy bulky, expensive sweaters to stay warm. Uniqlo engineered a thin, $10 base layer that does the job better. They didn't follow the trend. They solved the problem. One industrial designer who reviewed their clothing wrote, "The construction of a Uniqlo U t-shirt is a masterpiece of mass production. The neck ribbing is reinforced to prevent stretching. The cotton is high gauge and dense, and the fit is calculated to the millimeter. It is a $15 shirt that outperforms designer basics that cost $80. They are ignored because they are basic. They don't have loud logos or flashy patterns, but that is their secret weapon. By ignoring the trends, they avoid the trend tax. They don't have to clear out inventory every 2 weeks because their designs are timeless. One reviewer noted, "I have a Uniqlo puffer jacket that I have worn for 5 winters. I have washed it, hiked in it, and stuffed it into suitcases. The down hasn't leaked, and the zipper still works perfectly. It is the most reliable piece of clothing I own, and I bought it on sale for $39. Uniqlo is the absolute king of the staple wardrobe. They provide the structural foundation for your closet, while the high street brands try to sell you the wallpaper. They engineered the perfect basic, but the next brand on our list is a massive American icon that everyone thinks they know, but almost everyone is shopping in the wrong department." Number 2. Old Navy, the elevated essentials. Old Navy has a massive branding problem. If you mention the name to a self-proclaimed fashion expert, they will physically cringe. Most people associate the brightly lit store with chaotic bins of cheap 4th of July flip-flops, screaming children, and giant walls of neon-colored fleece jackets. The fashion elite wouldn't be caught dead inside an Old Navy because they genuinely think it is a containment zone for suburban soccer moms on a tight budget. They treat it like the absolute bottom of the retail barrel. That elitism is a massive mistake. The neon flip-flops are just corporate camouflage. To understand the secret, you have to look at the ruthless corporate hierarchy. Old Navy is owned by Gap Incorporated. This is the exact same parent company that owns high-end mall staples like Banana Republic and the premium activewear brand Athleta. In the corporate boardroom, Banana Republic provides the expensive mood lighting and the illusion of wealth, but Old Navy is the high-volume financial engine that actually funds the entire global operation. Because Old Navy produces millions of identical units every single month, they have access to terrifying economies of scale that smaller boutique brands can only dream of. They do not buy fabric by the yard. They buy it by the mile. The secret gold mine hiding in plain sight inside Old Navy is their elevated essentials and their seasonal linen blend lines. You just have to know how to navigate the chaos. Look directly at their PowerSoft activewear. The modern athleisure industry is an absolute scam. Premium brands have convinced you that you need to spend a fortune to buy synthetic woven plastic to sweat in. But the Old Navy PowerSoft line is often manufactured in the exact same overseas facilities as high-end giants like Lululemon. The physical properties are identical. The heavy fabric weight, the absolute squat-proof opacity, the 4-way mechanical stretch, and the advanced moisture-wicking properties are fundamentally the same. You are buying the exact same chemical engineering, just without the reflective logo slapped on the waistband. One fitness reviewer who tested the two wrote, "I did a blind touch test with Old Navy leggings and a pair of premium yoga pants that cost $120. I handed them to my trainer, and we both completely failed to tell the difference." The Old Navy pair actually held up better after 6 solid months of heavy gym use and constant washing. The expensive pair started to pill at the seams. I stopped paying the luxury logo tax immediately. The modern retail industry desperately wants you to believe that a high price tag always correlates directly with high quality. Old Navy proves that massive volume correlates directly with value. Because they make so much of it, they can afford to use highly technical clothing patterns and premium performance fabrics while completely keeping the price under $30. If you walk into the store, you have to wear blinders. You must bypass the front tables covered in graphic tees. You must walk right past the seasonal gimmicks and the cheap denim. You focus entirely on their structured, double-breasted blazers, their wide-leg linen blend trousers, and their high-performance activewear. If you curate your cart with absolute discipline, you are essentially shopping at a high-end, contemporary boutique for a fraction of the cost. The fabric sharing is an open, corporate secret. One former employee revealed, "We would often get the exact same raw fabric shipments on the loading dock as the Gap and Banana Republic stores in the exact same mall." The only difference was the paper tag they stitched into the collar and the price they slapped on the barcode. If you know how to look for high stitch counts and finished interior seams, you can easily find durable pieces for $15 that look like they cost $200. They successfully hide their absolute best quality behind a mountain of cheap, brightly colored marketing. It keeps the snobs out, and it leaves the gold for the smart shoppers. But the final brand on our list takes this concept and completely destroys the retail model. It is the absolute ultimate goldmine. It is a brand that does not manufacture a single piece of clothing, yet it holds the physical keys to the most expensive, luxurious closets in the entire country. Number 1. ThredUp, the resale rebellion. The most expensive, high-quality clothing in the world has already been made. It is not hanging on a rack in Paris, and it is not walking down a runway in Milan. It is currently sitting in a dark closet in a wealthy zip code, completely forgotten by its original owner. The modern fashion industry survives entirely on your manufactured desire for the new. They desperately want you to believe that a garment loses its value the exact second the store tags are cut off. They want you terrified of being seen in last season's silhouette, so you keep returning to the mall to buy garments made of pure plastic. Enter ThredUp. They are the digital insurgent that turned the chaotic, dusty used clothing market into a high-tech, algorithmic goldmine. But you have to understand what this company actually is. They are not a dimly lit neighborhood thrift store. They are a massive, ruthless logistics machine. Every single day, thousands of enormous bags arrive at their warehouses, filled with the discarded wardrobes of people who simply bought too much. These facilities process an absolute avalanche of fabric. Every item is inspected, photographed, priced by a computer, and immediately cataloged. And that sheer, overwhelming volume is exactly where the system breaks down. That is where you strike. Because they process literally millions of garments a month, human curation is mathematically impossible. They rely heavily on an automated algorithm, and an algorithm only knows what it is programmed to recognize. It recognizes modern, flashy mall brands perfectly, but it is completely blind to true heritage quality. The goldmine here is the algorithm's blind spot. It constantly misprices high-end legacy brands that the average teenager has never heard of. While everyone else is fighting over a used fast fashion top, you can quietly filter the massive database by material. You can hunt for pure wool blazers from legacy brands like Pendleton, heavy silk dresses from Diane von Furstenberg, and structured, full-grain leather bags from Coach. You are buying them for less than the price of a tissue-thin polyester shirt at a mall kiosk. You are not buying a brand name. You are buying raw, biological materials. You are buying silk that actually breathes and heavy wool that repels the winter wind. One reviewer wrote, "I found a vintage Burberry trench coat for $60 because the algorithm simply listed it under generic tan coat. The quality of the stitching, the heavy brass hardware, and the thick weight of the gabardine fabric is something you literally cannot buy in a modern retail store today for less than $2,000. Think about the beautiful math on that transaction. Someone paid thousands of dollars for a coat, wore it 3 times, and shoved it into a donation bag. The computer missed the tag, and a smart shopper acquired a generational piece of outerwear for the price of a tank of gas. The modern clothing industry relies entirely on the scam of fast fashion. They engineer clothing explicitly designed to be worn exactly 5 times before the seams twist, the fabric pills, and the garment is ultimately discarded into a landfill. It is planned obsolescence stitched directly into the collar. Our ancestors wore slow fashion. They wore clothing designed to be repaired, tailored, and passed down. ThredUp allows you to bypass the toxic garbage produced today and reach directly back into the era when absolute quality was the standard, not an expensive exception. One customer shared the ultimate strategy. "I rebuilt my entire professional wardrobe on ThredUp for exactly $300. I bypassed the trends and only searched for pure silk, heavy wool, and structured linen. I now look like a corporate executive. If I had tried to buy these exact items new at a modern department store, I would have spent over $5,000 on lower quality synthetic blends that make you sweat. ThredUp is the ultimate goldmine because it allows you to opt out of the planned obsolescence of the modern economy. You are no longer a passive consumer blindly following a plastic mannequin. You become a curator. You become a hunter. You are actively searching for the heavy, durable materials that the modern corporate world has completely forgotten how to produce. The massive fashion conglomerates desperately want you looking forward to the next trend. They want you swiping your credit card every 14 days. But the smart shoppers are looking backward. They are harvesting the unparalleled quality that already exists. The modern clothing industry is betting on your ignorance. They want you focused on the brand name, the celebrity endorsement, and the shiny packaging. They want you to believe that if something is cheap, it must be junk. And if it is expensive, it must be gold. But now, you know the truth. You know that Mango Outlet is hiding the high-end design. You know that Quince is killing the middleman. You know that Uniqlo is engineering the future of fabric. You know that Old Navy is hiding high-performance activewear in the suburbs. And you know that ThredUp is the gateway to the lost era of quality. The fashion giants want you to stay in the mall. They want you trapped in the cycle of debt and disappointment. But the gold mines are waiting for you. All you have to do is stop looking at the price tag and start looking at the seams. Share this video right now with a woman who is tired of her clothes falling apart after 3 washes. Let's help everyone rebuild their wardrobes with real quality. If you think the fashion industry is a scam, you have absolutely no idea what they are doing to your grocery store. Click on that next video on your screen to see the dark truth hiding in the meat department. We will see you there. Thanks for watching.